We begin tonight with Aretha Franklin, who's died at home in Detroit, aged 76. America has no royalty, Barack and Michelle Obama said in a joint statement following the announcement of her death. But we do have a chance to earn something more enduring. And she did. An extraordinary voice shaped in her father's church, first heard more widely on a gospel recording, Songs of Faith, released when she was just 14. But it was when she signed to Atlantic Records in 1967 that she exploded onto the charts. Respect, Natural Woman, Chain of Fools, Think, Say a Little Prayer, hit after hit. A massive crossover star, utterly grounded by her Detroit upbringing, embraced by radio stations who'd previously been terrified of anyone blacker than Elvis. She won 14 Grammys, she sold 75 million records, but the awards and the sales figures only explain part of why this was such an extraordinary life. To understand the significance of Aretha Franklin in American life, consider that Think, with its cry of and for freedom, was released in 1968, 1 month after the assassination of Martin Luther King, and it made the Billboard Top 10. At a time of murderous enmity, she stood upright and magnificent, audacious with her sense of possibility.
Mama, I love the way you put that, the sense of possibility, and that's what she stands for right now, that all things are possible. You know, Aretha could have stopped on the sideline a long time ago. She suffered disappointing marriages and whatnot. She could have given up, but she didn't. She pressed on and on and on, and got her respect.
What you want? Baby, I got it. What you need? You know I got it. All I'm asking is for what you got on.
That was Reverend Robert Smith Jr. from the New Bethel Baptist Church in Detroit, the Franklin family's church, where Aretha sang in the choir and where this morning people gathered to pay tribute.
People are bringing balloons, they're bringing flowers, they're bringing stuffed animals. People riding down the street blasting the songs, many times interrupting interviews. But all that's all right and good. People are just trying to express themselves in the only way they know how. And, of course, the media's there hoping to get Jesse Jackson or Stevie Wonder or some other celebrity friends. Mr. Jackson has already been by. We expect Stevie Wonder to come by. Who knows? Diana Ross might even come by.
Isn't that a tribute to her that they're turning up? And isn't it a tribute to the very central role your church played in her life? It was her father's church, right?
For 38 years. For 38 years, she sang in that church under the direction of her father.
This is her on the piano in 1964. The rest of the band are white men in suits. She hasn't found her songbook yet, but her talent. Listen.
Baby, here I am by the railroad tracks, waiting for my baby. It's coming on back.
But it was when she signed to Atlantic that people began to really notice her. And when I asked Pastor Robert what song he'd picked for us to listen to, he went to near the beginning of those glorious years at Atlantic Records.
Well, I love when she sings Ain't No Way, when she sits down to the piano and plays herself. And she's singing the song, Ain't No Way for Me to Love You If You Won't Let Me. And she's singing from the depths of her heart. I don't know who she's thinking about, who she's really talking to, but, I mean, it goes to your soul.
Ain't no way for me to love you if you won't let me.
Now, none of this seems revolutionary in 2018, but at the time, her talent, her brilliance was so singular that she couldn't be ignored by program directors on white radio stations, by the record-buying public, by Primetime TV. Respect went to #1. She appeared on the cover of Time magazine and she released an album called Young, Gifted and Black. Almost 5 decades on, that still matters. This morning, our producer Bridget Burke phoned the Soulsville Foundation in Memphis, Aretha Franklin's birthplace. And she spoke to 18-year-old Jonathan Lee, a graduate student. She asked Jonathan to pick an Aretha song for us to listen to, and guess what?
My favorite is Ain't No Way. It goes, ain't no way for me to love you if you won't let me. Oh, yeah.
Looking out on the morning rain, I used to feel so uninspired.
Prince, David Bowie, George Michael, Leonard Cohen, Tom Petty. We've been losing musicians with a terrible profligacy of late. But what makes Aretha Franklin slightly different from even those greats is the broader aspirations she represented, the bigger hope. Before she was 30, Emmett Till had been lynched, Rosa Parks had been arrested for not standing for a white passenger on a bus, and Medgar Evers, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King had been assassinated. And then in 2009 she sang at the inauguration of a black president. Hers was not only a brilliant musical life, it was, sometimes against immense odds, a triumphantly black American one.
She knew all these figures like Martin Luther King and the great blues singers like Dinah Washington and even Billie Holiday would be friends of her father's.
That's Mark Bego, who wrote a biography of Aretha Franklin. We'll have more from him later in the program. But let's head home for a moment and back decades to where a schoolboy in Wellington who would go on to become one of our great soul and R&B vocalists was starting to fall in love with music.
In those days, R&B didn't figure a lot on our airwaves, but the 2ZB Sunday request session, somebody would request James Brown every week, and that was where I first heard Respect.
For Rick Bryant, who we'll hear more from later, it was a lightning bolt moment, bigger.
I think the word epiphany means first sight of God, and that's what she was one of. Her whole career was an epiphany.
And what song would Rick Bryant pick for us to listen to at the end of Aretha Franklin's life? Well, I was asking him that, and he knew. If there is one Aretha Franklin song that you were going to say to our audience, listen to this, because
well, there's one called Didn't I Blow Your Mind This Time? Didn't I blow your mind this time? Didn't I? I think it's on Young, Gifted and Black, but I'm not sure.
Yes, it was. Yes, she did. And the Mind she blew first, well, they were probably in the congregation at the New Bethel in Detroit. And there today, watching the TV networks camped outside and the flowers being left and the people singing the songs she made famous, Pastor Robert was reflecting on her life and on the gift she had, which she shared.
Well, she had the most blessed voice that one can imagine. Only God could have given her that very, very special voice. And it was a soul-penetrating voice, a voice that could not be ignored.
Just wanna be close to you. You make me feel so alive. You make me feel. You make me feel like a natural woman.
Aretha Franklin, 76 years old. What an extraordinary life. And after 6 o'clock tonight on Checkpoint, we will look back on it in great depth. We will speak to her biographer, hear from some of the people she inspired, and also talk to New Zealanders in the street about what Aretha song they loved, you loved best. That's after 6 o'clock.